All right, so what I just mentioned again, we're talking about input validation, and we've talked about the three types of input validation. The first is to do nothing and hope that the user just puts in valid data, the worst way of doing it. Before object-oriented programming languages, the only way you could do it was a procedural way, which was with a combination of if, else, while statements, etc. You'll see some of that in a minute. And the last way to do it is the object-oriented programming way of doing it, which says to use try, catch, finally. Now, I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to leave it up here. Please just listen to me for a couple minutes. Don't just start typing, all right? Because I've got part of the code in there already. But just listen for a second, all right? This is what you're going to have to type in. Granted, it's a few lines, but you're going to have to type in all this. Now, the good news is, think about this, all right? See that all that in there? You go, oh my God. Yeah, you got to type it in twice. But the second time, all you have to do is change all those H's right there to W's. So please don't type it in twice. And after we get done, we have to add, I think it's 2 more lines at the bottom, then we're done. All right, so just think about this. So notice as soon as I put those in, all my stuff with my height now doesn't have the squiggly lines in it anymore. All right, so again, before you type, please just look up on here. This says try. In English, this means, this line that you see right there, that line means attempt to take whatever I put in here, whatever that was, attempt to take it and convert it into an integer and put it into height. If I try to do that and I put a non-integer value in, it's going to jump down here and say input error, non-numeric value for height. So if I get down to right here, if it didn't blow up yet, now I have to check to see if it's less than 12 or if it's greater than 96. If either one of those are the case, I want to bring up a message box that says input error, height must be between these two things. All right? But otherwise, I want to say non-numeric input for height. And notice that either way, I want to give you a message and then return, which means get the heck out of here. All right? So what I'm going to do very quickly, and I'll put all this up there in just a second, but I'm going to grab all of it, and I want to put it in twice, because the first time, that's going to handle all my stuff in there for my height. All right, now for the second time when I run through it, I want to change all those H's to W's. And there's a reason I'm going through all the problem to show you this. And what you're going to see is in just a second when I get back and I move up here, nothing will have the squiggly lines by it anymore. Now, hopefully I didn't miss any, but we'll find out when we run the program. All right, the only thing that's still there with the squiggly is the BMI, because we didn't figure that out yet. We're going to do that in just a minute. So I'll leave this up here. I'll leave this part that's gray up here, I'll leave it up here for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll move the other part up. All right? Some of you type faster than other people do. And if you look up on the screen here, just so you know this, if I wanted to, I could have put this on one line. I could have even put all that on one line. I put it on multiple lines so it would all show on the screen and you'd be able to read it. All right. I would say when you get all done, if you have any problems, if something doesn't work, raise your hand. Ben will come around, John will come around, Jeff will come around, etc. But it may be that if you run into multiple problems with this, what you'll have to do then is you will have to watch the tape again. I'm sorry for that, but if we spent 2 hours, both hours just doing the interface, you'd have a great interface, but you'd have no code. So I'm doing this. The idea is Wednesday I'm going to lecture on Chapter 3. So if you haven't read Chapter 3, please do it by Wednesday. All next week is lab. Everybody hear that? Both periods next week are lab in both classes. All right, this class and the Java class. I'll walk around, Ben, John will walk around, etc. So if you have problems. Now the first part of the lecture that I did is done. So if you give me just a second, this will take about 45 seconds. I want to throw that on. I want to upload that to YouTube. So this is going to disappear, but it'll come back in about 45 seconds. Thank you. Does everybody notice now when you look at like these 2 lines, and you've seen this before, those are the names that we used for the controls, text box height, etc. So now we're setting values in our properties window there, and we're calling methods for those there. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to move it down so that the catch stuff shows. Okay? Again, hopefully you're somewhere in here, and in about 2 or 3 minutes I'm going to move that down so that this catch statement is up on the top so you can get all that. If you look up on the screen here for a minute, notice now with the code that I just put in, please take a look up on the screen here. Now notice if I put in something non-numeric for the height and I click calculate, non-numeric input for height, input error. Alright, and I click yes, boom, it removes it and it puts my cursor there. Alright, if I try it again and I put in a number that's out of range, height must be between 12 and 96 inches, input error. I probably should have flipped these. I probably should have taken the message and put it in there and made that be the heading. It's okay. But again, boom, if I put in something too big, out of range, same error. But now if I put in a number within range, I haven't put in the code yet to do the calculation, but I don't get an error. Alright, and my clear works. Again, it's just about 9:30, so I'm going to move this down. I'll try to set it so, hopefully you're up to about here or so. Okay, if you're a slow typist, there's not real much we can do about that. I've done this in the past where I would just sit there and wait until everybody got done. Then we only got through half the book, and people complained. All right, so there's no magical way of doing this. So I'm going to move this up a bit, so I can move it there. There. That's got everything in it up through the catch. If you're a quick typist and you get done, then take everything from the try through the catch, copy it to the clipboard, and paste it in right below it so you've got 2 copies of it. Then in the one below it, change all the heights to weights in all the try catch below. Then you've got only 2 lines to type and you're finished. again, if you look up on the screen here, once you're to that point, what I'd like you to do is grab everything that we've done here, all the stuff in the try, through the catch, copy it to the clipboard, and then paste it right down below. And then change all the H's in height to W's and make them weight. And once you get to that point, you only have 2 more lines of code to type in and you're finished. Now, a couple people are still typing, but does it make sense to you? I'm asking this. What's going on here? We're telling the user right here in this block that you see in gray, we're telling the user attempt to take what we put in that text box that's called text box height, grab the text from it, all right, convert that to a string, and probably would work without the convert, but I just put it in there anyway, and then attempt to take that and convert it into an integer. If for some reason you can't do that, if this fails, that means you put in a non-integer value. That'll say, push you to down here to bring up a message box that says you put a non-numeric input in. And then it'll take what was in that height, in that text box, and clear it out, set the focus there, and get the heck out. If I get down to this line right here, that means I put a number in. And it was a whole number. It was an integer. So now I have to go in and I have to check to see if that what I put in there is less than 12 or it's greater than 96. And if it is less than 12 or greater than 96, then I want to put in that error. Again, you already saw this, but if you don't like, just to show you how quick I can change this, boom. See how that says input error and it says non-numeric input for height? Okay, if I don't like that, I could have just flipped those. So I could have taken the input error that you see right here, and I could have put it down here. All right, what does that do? Well, you'll immediately be able to see. Now that's, okay, make me a liar, thank you. For some reason it's not saving, but it should be. Right. And then do the same thing for the weight. So this is the exact same code. All right. Now the only thing that's here to add, we have to add 2 lines. If you look up, if everybody would, even no matter where you are, if you don't look up on the screen, this is the formula. All right. So down here now, I want to calculate the BMI, but I'm going to have to change it a little bit. So I'm going to say here, calculate BMI using the following formula. All right. So how do I have to change this? BMI equals weight times, well, I created that BMI constant, that's 703, divided by, and if you'll all look on the screen here, I can do this. I can type in that, and the program will work just fine. It'll be fat and happy, and it'll be fine. All right, I can do that. But I wanted to show you that's not the way, quote, professional programmers, unquote, would do it. They would call the built-in power function to do that for you. Instead of saying height times height, which is height squared, they would type in math.pow height 2. And that does the same thing as this. It's a little more typing, but it's a little more professional looking. That's the rest of the program right there. So now if I didn't screw it up, and I'll come right back to it, we've got 8 minutes yet, but if I didn't screw it up, okay, there, boom, handles non-numeric for height, handles out of range for height, all right, handles non-numeric weight, handles out of range weight, and if I put in a value that's valid, gives me a BMI, which I cannot change. All right, the clear works, the exit works. All right, that's the whole program right there. What we will do on Wednesday is I'm going to lecture. It'll probably take at least the first hour. I'm going to lecture on all of Chapter 3. Then I'm going to explain what your first assignment is. All right, I'll explain it to the entire class as a class. All right, again, if I counted right, there's about 4 or 5 people missing today. And I'm just to the point where, and I'm not mad or anything, but I'm just to the point where if they can't make it, they have to watch the tapes. And it's also not John and Ben and Mike's job to sit there and catch them up either. It's their job to go and watch the tapes. Does anybody need me to move this up or down or anything? Last thing I'd say, if you are feeling a bit overwhelmed, all right, this was a lot to do today, and I'm not saying it wasn't. All right, I do think it helps to visually let you see what's going on, then go over it in the book. All right, oh, that's why he did it that way. But a lot of the stuff that's in the book for Chapter 3, we're going to go over like this. Why? They go over the picture box again. I've already had enough of that. All right, this is why programmers make money. It's for the code. It's not for the interface. It's being able to understand what's happening behind the scenes. We're going to do a very similar thing today. Those of you who are in the next class, we're going to write a program in Java as a class. Last thing I'll tell you, okay, promise. Last thing I'll tell you, that in that folder that I told you to copy over, this is more for the people in the Java class, but in Java, what we've been doing the last couple days is we wrote 4 programs for a miles per gallon. I rewrote all 4 of them in C#. So if that helps you to take a look at it, if you want to start to compare and contrast the 2 languages, that's what that's for. You also have the executable for both the program that you're going to be assigned and this one. So there's the BMI one. And the one that we're going to be doing as a class, there's the tip tax one, which is simpler than the one we just did. Which code?
Well,
Well,
just the, yeah,
the first part
the
here?
try, all the try catch part for the weight cutting.
Don't really want to do that too much, so, yeah, again,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. He had like 23 years, but I don't know. So I was just,
okay, my guess is probably it might be a naming thing too. Printer out of toner ink. Well, may not even, that's not even printing. You know, IT support. Oh, you know what? The thing that you did last week? I forgot to turn it off.
the recording.
Yeah, so now I got to go in there and jack with it because it's like about an hour and a half long.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
big file.
yeah, it was. So, it's not out there yet, and I told Dave von Falkenstein that it would be out there today, and it will. But I got to go in, find out where you stopped, and literally cut out. First, I got to cut out the video, then I got to cut out the audio.
I did send him an email
Good.
with the
All right. Thank you.
instructions.
Thank you. So I have to send IT an email right now, and I'm finished. So if you're all caught up, you want to take off, not a problem. Uh huh. If it doesn't clear it out, then you don't have that line of code in there. Then I'd have to see it because I don't know why it wouldn't clear it out. It should. If it gives you the height and the weight area, you didn't change those H's to W's. Well, I then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You may have, but you may not have changed it in some place, wherever that place is.